board. So as we're getting started here, thank you for joining us. This is part 2 of a 2-part series with conversations with Perry Radford, with Zach Corbin, talking about authentic video. So episode 1 last week was engaging supporters with authentic video. We kind of just talked, generally about the concept and how this works and how we can use authentic video. Today, we're going to get a little bit more detailed and talk about how to operationalize. And we're calling this one 10x engagement. So 10x, increase your engagement tenfold with authentic student video, which we have seen more than that, actually. Zach's going to show some pretty impressive numbers. And, we're going to talk again about how you can really operationalize authentic video for your organization. So that's going to be the topic today. I see we're getting some more attendees following up here or logging on here. You probably got, if you were on part 1, you got the recording, I hope. After this webinar, we'll send part 1 and part 2 to everybody. So you have the recordings of both of these, and please share widely. I'm just going to put a little pitch out. I'm actually in the Bay Area. So number 1, I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. If it kicks out, I apologize. Hopefully Zach's and Perry's can carry the day. But number 2, if anyone wants to grab coffee tomorrow morning, I've got an open morning before I head to the airport. So if you want to talk authentic student video and you're in the Bay Area, let me know. I'd love to meet up if we can make that happen. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. So bear with me 1 second. I want to first introduce our panelists. Again, we're talking about 10x your engagement with authentic video for nonprofit donor engagement. So again, we're joined by 2 just absolute experts in this space. As I mentioned last week that, Perry and I have had a lot of fun getting to know each other and talk about, a lot of the concepts and a lot of our beliefs and how we should be doing donor engagement today. And, that led, of course, to these webinars. So Perry, you might know Perry is the founder and principal of Rad Philanthropy. In this role, she helps organizations with interim staffing, strategic counsel, managing key projects. Perry also serves as a donor advisor, helping donors hone in on their philanthropic priorities and strategies. And prior to Rad Philanthropy, Perry spent a lot of time in annual giving, alumni relations, Scripps College, Emerson College, Caltech, Harvey Mudd, UC Santa Cruz, just really, really leading this industry with a lot of innovation. So Perry, thank you so much for joining us today. Anything else you want to mention in terms of the bio, or maybe you want to grab coffee with people tomorrow morning? I don't know.
Well, if anyone's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I'm happy to grab coffee anytime. But yeah, no, thanks for that introduction. Much appreciated.
Of course. And then the other individual joining us here today is Zach Corbin. Zach and I have been working together for several years. He's really one of the people who launched First Name, right? You could probably put co-founder behind both of our titles, honestly, at this point. He was here before day one. And Zach has just done a phenomenal job doing exactly what we're talking about today, operationalizing student video at a lot of different institutions for incredible results. So, it's one of those things where I'm actually probably learning more from Zach now than the other way around and the work that he's done. So, Zach, thank you so much for joining us. Anything else you want to mention in terms of bio or coffee breaks or meetings or anything else?
No, that was a great introduction. I love that. So I appreciate that. But just want to say thanks to everybody on the call. I'm looking forward to digging in and talking about, what results authentic video can produce, and more importantly, how you can start this at your institutions really shortly.
Awesome. Okay, so again, if there's the chat function, I don't know why I can't get that to work, but I cannot. So please use the Q&A. You see that at the bottom of the screen for any questions you have that might pop up. And then, we don't need to wait to the end. We want this to be very much a conversation. That's the objective. So for this one, I think, Zach, I have you slated to lead us off. And I think the question here is that we want to get started on is why? Why should we be doing more authentic video? We talk about no cold asks. It's kind of our hashtag here at First Name. What does that mean? And what does authentic video have to do with that? Zach?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, to everybody watching, thank you. Like Justin mentioned, if you didn't get a chance to see our last webinar, it's on our YouTube channel. Go check that out. Please keep those questions coming in the Q&A. But yeah, I think if we look back to some of the stuff that we were talking about last week, authentic video really has a great place, especially in this moment, all across higher ed advancement. And it can help both engagement and fundraising. It's not just a one-lane approach here. And if we take a step back and think about, everything happening right now, video consumption is on the rise. People are way more active in the digital space, both in terms of interactions and transactions. So this is a great time, I think, to start rolling out some of this authentic video. And like Justin mentioned, we talk about no cold ask here because we think before every single ask, whether that's to come to an event, to volunteer, or to make a donation, it shouldn't be the first time these individuals are hearing about that. And we do think that video is a fantastic tool to get the audience warmed, primed, and ready to act and do some of those things that we're talking about. So I do want to go, and I've got a really quick slide deck, but I'd love to share real quick some of what we're seeing in terms of the results when we take this approach and apply it to our work. So I'm going to share some examples from our client partners here. And what I'm going to be talking about really is it touches all parts of the funnel, from the top of the funnel to the bottom. So I'm going to run through just with the top of the funnel as an example here of the impact that authentic student video can have on our work. So this slide that you're looking at, we were working with a client partner, and we were working on one of their campaigns, their fundraising campaigns, and we wanted to do a test. We had 2 different forms of video content. And so the audience was the same, the budget was the same, the channels were the same that we utilized. The only variable that was different was the actual videos itself. So on the left-hand side, you can see this is a student video that was produced by our team of students. And on the right-hand side, this is the video produced featuring the chancellor of the institution. We went out, we did this test. Like I said, all variables were the same except for the video. And I think the results speak for themselves here. And you can see both videos, about a minute in length. The student video got almost 3,000 unique views. So 3,000 individuals watched that thing from start to finish. And if you look at this chancellor video, 54 views. So that's a 54 times increase in the amount of people who watch that student video versus this chancellor video. And you can see just from some of the grabs of the video, there's a different look and feel to both of them there. And so we see this in terms of a pure stopping the scroll, taking a look on social media, and just engaging and watching video. This can have a real impact. But it also does when we navigate and move throughout the funnel. So, we work with our client partners at UT Austin, have a great team that we get to work with down there, strong team of Longhorn digital ambassadors. And we were working on a fundraising campaign with them that was featuring all these places across the institution that you could make a gift. And we noticed in the course of the middle of this campaign, after 4 emails had been sent out, the click-through rate on emails was just not where we wanted it to be, right? Just not getting the volume of people to these giving pages that we were looking for. And so what we did was we worked with our team of students down there, the Longhorn Digital Ambassadors, and we produced videos specifically to go in these emails. And you can see an example of one of our students, Katie, in her video. And that was debuted on email 5, which is right in this graph that you're looking at here. And so if you take the first 4 emails and the last 4 emails that featured student video content, enticing people to grabbing their eye, going to the landing page where the same video was on, we saw a 19 times increase in click-through rate on the emails alone. And so just think about that from a pure volume perspective. We're pushing 19 times as many people to the landing page where people are one step closer to making a gift. And so if you got this email that you can see, click through, you're going to go to a landing page that features Katie talking all about this specific gift, this specific area of campus, this fund that you can help support. So real lift on other channels, even if we're not embedding the email, we're just using a gift, that motion is really helpful to entice people to click through. So again, lift across all channels. And you might be thinking, that's great. We're getting more people to watch videos. We're getting people to click through. But what about actual fundraising results? And so, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. We love giving days here at First Name. Justin was a part of the first ever giving day. If you take a look at our team, we've got over 100 giving days plus in our belt. one of the things we really love to do, and we think this is an opportunity for tons of video to saturate all the social media feeds, all the paid digital approaches, text, email, you name it. There's really no channel that can't be using a video on a day like this. And so we worked with both UMass Lowell and the University of Missouri. And I think like a lot of institutions, they've been having really solid results for a number of years, but they were starting to experience a plateau with their giving day. And they really wanted to try to unlock this and take it to the next level. And that's where we came in. We got to work with them and put a strategy together for what a video first approach looks like for a giving day. Not only a video first approach, but a video first approach that features the students as the centerpiece, as the focal point here. And so we came up with a plan for strategy to put the videos out before the day, during the day. And the result of this, both institutions had record-breaking giving days. And so I want to highlight some stats. You know, UMass Lowell in particular, we created over 3 dozen different videos that were deployed during the lead up and during the days of. And that resulted in a ton of great activity. We saw during the day, over 20% of visitors to the Giving Day site came via social media, where a ton of our videos were playing. 15% came from digital ads, which were primarily focused on promoting these videos out to this UMass Lowell audience. And then just 13% came in through email. What that is a very healthy channel mix. So it's really important to take this creative asset, get it out on a number of different channels, and you can see what happened was an 80% increase in unique donors from FY22 to FY23. So that's one example, but we can see this across some of our other work that we've done. I think the University of Missouri is a great example here as well. Similar situation, Mizzou Giving Day had been working well for quite some time. They wanted to see how can we take this to the next level. We worked with their team, did a similar strategy. Let's come up with content that we can push out in front of our audiences in the warming period, in the days of period. And the result, this is pretty impressive, 14.5 million impressions on social media from these Mizzou Digital Ambassador videos. That's 150% more impressions than the prior year. And impressions are really just the top of the funnel, but that did drive results, almost triple the actual online giving activity during the days of. You can see the stat right there, 217% increase in unique donors from one year to the next. So whether we're talking about engagement, whether we're talking about fundraising results, when we find ways where we can take this authentic student video and insert it into strategy, it really does produce some fantastic results. It doesn't just stop at the bottom of the funnel though. Imagine what we could do if we took our current donors and increased the retention rate by 5%. That is really how we can get focused on building a base of annual giving supporters for our respective institutions. We love stewardship. We love this one-to-one piece with the videos, getting donors back on this road to retention, getting them more engaged with the institution, continuing to that next gift. And so we've talked a lot about videos that can be used in these multi-channel approaches, the many-to-one approaches, but there's a great opportunity to also do this one-to-one. And this can be thanking individual donors after a specific campaign. It can be thanking them, monthly donors, quarterly donors, however you want to approach this. There's a lot of different options, but it's not just stewardship when we're talking about kind of this one-to-one or creating video for these smaller segments. There's a great opportunity to personalize, but not necessarily personalized to the individual, but personalized to the segment or the micro segment that we are targeting, really speaking and building messaging and videos just for them. So if you think about all of the amazing information that is in your CRMs right now, how can we pull that out? How can we operationalize that? It could be by college, it could be by school, unit, department, the fund that somebody gave to. We can create videos specific to those membership societies. The list really goes on and on. It's only limited by your creativity of how you want to micro segment and how we want to build videos for that. But I think in sum, there's always a spot for these videos, whether it is in this many-to-one multi-channel approach, or if we're shrinking it down and really want to connect one-on-one with prospective and current donors. So tons of potential here. And, as you see in that slide deck, this can help drive results, but that is really not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about how you can actually make this happen. And so I know Perry's got some fantastic thoughts on not only, you know, how this is successful, like we talked about, but how can we take this and apply it to your work right now?
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Zach. I mean, I think everyone who's on the call has probably seen those results and thinking, gosh, how the heck can I make that happen for my team? And we're going to tell you how to get started moving in that direction. So the first thing that's really important is your student piece. I think most of us have experienced that alumni and parents always want to hear from students, unless of course they truly don't want to hear from your organization at all, in which case we don't really have to worry about them. They're not our target audience, right? So having students as your ambassadors is really key. But if you have ever tried to shift from having a phone-a-thon or an engagement center to full-on digital ambassadors, that is a really large culture shift that takes a lot of time. Oh, I'm happy to see the chat is working. So folks, feel free to get in the chat now that we are fully online. So one idea for how to start making this transition, if you are in the early stages of video or early stages of having a digital ambassador program, is something we did at Scripps called our hybrid caller. So what we did was we started to take some of our really talented and trusted phone-a-thon callers and position them in this hybrid role where they would spend maybe a shift a week doing traditional calls, which, you know, that is the original way we've done this scale work. We have so many channels to scale our outreach now, so many ideas to do that. But before we ever could get on Facebook, could do digital ads, whatever, text, we had phone-a-thon. So if you are still in that traditional mold, you can have your student callers who are really experienced and trusted begin to do video campaigns for you. And what's great about that is when you have a strong relationship with some of these student leaders, you know they can work asynchronously. They can really be thought partners with you because they know the audience quite well already. This is a great way to start dipping your toe into like a student digital ambassador program. So the next piece that you have to think about is your distribution channel. So there are a lot of different ways that you can distribute video, and they have trade-offs, right? You know, earlier we heard about having a healthy mix of channels, and I think that's something that teams should aspire to. But if you're just starting to utilize video, I want you to think about a few key ways of how to put the video out there. And some of that is really going to be determined by your segmentation strategy. So is it a video that you want to have broadly seen by people? Like this Giving Day example is really great. Well, social media is built for hosting video like that. It's really easy to implement a video campaign like that. If you're doing something that's a little bit more targeted, let's say a message from cross-country coach to alumni of that team, that's something that you maybe want to do as like an unlisted video on YouTube, where you could send a link. It's broad, but it's still targeted. It's not something that's out there just where anyone could find it. So it still has a little bit of a special feeling to it. And then, of course, there's one-to-one video. When you do one-to-one video, you're going to need to distribute it in a very different way. So that might mean a specific video platform. That might mean specific one-on-one video storage. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple minutes as we start to think about workflow. So workflow is how you put everything together. And this is a really key piece that is going to help make or break launching video for you. So as you're thinking about your video strategy, you need to put these pieces together. So you need to organize your lists. Who do you want to see these videos? You need to think about video storage. How are you going to host these videos? Because as many of us know by now, you can't really send a video by email. You can link to a video in email. You can have the GIF or GIF, if you're one of those people, of the video in your email, but you can't actually have the video displayed in your email. So the storage is a really big piece, and having that organized is also a big piece if you are going to have a lot of personalized videos in particular. So then the question is, how do you connect the video storage to your distribution platform, to your organized list? So what I really want you to think about is making a really clear workflow process for yourself that goes through the various pieces of your tech stack for your institution and makes this work. Because at the end of all of this, you also need to record these communications in your CRM as well. So the way this workflow is going to work is unique to whatever mix you're using for your tech stack, along with your outreach strategy. So I really want you to think through all of those steps, because they're going to influence each other and how you can do things. So a really good way to launch this is with a pilot project or test project. So before you go, all in doing thousands of videos, test out your process, test out your workflow. So one project that I think is a really good place to start with this is anniversary giving videos. So if you haven't ever done an anniversary campaign before, these are retention campaigns where you reach out to donors at their giving anniversary, and you let them know the impact their gift has had. You invite them to renew their gift this year. They're really great because depending on the size of your institution and also what time of year it is, you might have a couple dozen to a couple hundred of these. So these are really small campaigns that you can put together. And if you have, say, a hybrid caller in place, they can help you begin to roll out these pilot anniversary campaigns so that you can get to a much larger campaign down the line once you really have tested it out and figured out, oh, this part of the video storage didn't work so well, or oh, it's so hard, we're having to manually get this data back in the database. We need to our team uses Omatic, and we need to come up with an Omatic import to bring the data back into the CRM, right? There's so many different places you might get hung up. And so if you test that, you're going to work out all of those wrinkles. So the last thing is really tracking your results. Like, how do you know that this is working? So we had the great example earlier on of the A/B testing of the student video, and the more authentic student video and the more produced formal tone chancellor video. So having something like anniversary where you can test out different things, figuring out all the operational pieces. You want to figure out what's working. You want to check in on your results regularly. So that being said, as you set it for your workflow, you have to ask yourself, what am I going to track success based on? Is it going to be opens, watches, clicks, conversions, if there is a call to action? Be really clear about what that is, and also watch your data and see. Sometimes you might find that, for example, video is really great for engagement, but not for direct fundraising. And so if that is how your audience is responding to video, you need to think about a really slow long-term culture change if your goal is fundraising. Or you need to think about the campaigns that are going to make the most sense with that video channel because of how it resonates with your audience. So the last thing I'll say kind of on this how do you do it note is consistency. If your organization has not been using video, this is something new, and you're going to be needing to prime your audience and get used to it. Now, I can pretty much guarantee you they are used to video, but from different authors or influencers, just not from your organization. So you have to inculturate that over time and see what happens.
That's a really good point. Sorry, Perry, just to reinforce that fact, we've been fortunate. We've had a few situations where we started these engagements, and, especially when there's a giving day coming up quickly, we can make some change in, 2-3 months time. Not ideal, but it is possible to get started that quickly and see some results. But I think we really see it. And this is where I think we want to get into the next kind of segue almost, Perry, into kind of expanding beyond annual giving. But when we really see this work is when the whole university community starts to understand it, implements it across so many channels for so many different purposes. And really, it's almost an equation of authentic video frequency. So a lot of it, hundreds of pieces every year, over time equals engagement and eventually equals giving. And really that, second, third year is a lot of times where we see a lot of that growth. Before we move to expanding outside of annual giving, Basma, I see you have your hand raised. Did you want to mention something? I don't know if I can make you able to talk, or I don't know. It just said raise your hand. So I said view, and then I don't know what happened. Oh, it was a mistake. Sorry, Basma. Didn't mean to call you out there. Okay. So let's talk about that then. I've for quite some time thought, yeah, this works really well in annual giving, but if we're talking about engagement rates that are like 20x over what we're doing already, wouldn't that be nice to have 20x engagement with your leadership annual giving, with your major donors, principal donors, with athletics, with alumni relations? So Perry, take it away. Where should we be applying authentic video?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only way you probably shouldn't be applying it is only fundraising and nothing else. Kind of like if you were maybe in your annual giving office, the first to bring texting to your institution, and you have been through that experience of being ready to do it, but being ready to do it as the first as a solicitor can be a little touchy with other campus partners. You might want to see if you can encourage other folks to use it first. Because we know it really affects our authenticity and our trust with our audience if we do something for the first time as a fundraising ask. So really think about that as you are looking at increasing your video as a channel, as a program, however you're kind of looking at it strategically. So beyond fundraising, there are a lot of really cool ways that you can use video to make a difference. So I think about, one of the things I think about a lot is what would happen, especially in higher ed, if we made it as easy to volunteer as we make it easy for folks to give. All the time we spend soliciting people, working on frictionless giving pages. What if we did that for volunteer opportunities? How would that really change the state of how we connect with our community and how our community supports each other? So I think if you look at how you would apply that to video, there's a lot of opportunity there. So personal invitations to get involved as volunteers, having influencers like alumni board or parent board members inviting their peers to join as volunteers, volunteering within a specific program. Maybe there's a professional school like a business program, an MBA program, or inviting alumni to help current students. These sorts of opportunities, in my experience, really resonate with your audience, especially if it's targeted to their affinity or their key relationship with your organization. So you can think about that in a lot of different lights. So you could do that with admissions and enrollment. They can have students, in the past, a lot of schools have had students interview other students. That's not as popular these days. So what happens when you use student video instead to invite other students to apply or consider enrolling if they've already gotten in? So marketing and communications, there are a lot of responsibilities on Marcom teams. Sometimes that is related to advancement work. Sometimes it is not. But if video is now a primary way that people are consuming information, it needs to be a key channel for how the university or the institution is pushing out information about itself. Just press releases, just stories on the website, just stories in the magazine. We need to add to that and make it richer with video. And we all know, I think I said this last time, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, how many words is video worth? So especially when you're in that Marcom angle, let's really think about what we can do with video and how we can transform the way we educate people, the way we connect with our audience and let them know what's going on with us. The next thing I want to talk about is this idea of really partnering and learning best practices from your peers on campus. If there is a team on your campus that is really rocking video, I encourage you to learn from them, to take them out to lunch, take them out to coffee, set a meeting, find out what the progress has been. I don't think with a project like implementing video, there's going to be a lot of shortcuts. I really believe doing a pilot, testing it out for yourself, figuring it out, is really going to lead to success. But when you work with these collaborators, you're going to find out what some of the obstacles were sooner. And you're going to maybe be able to steer clear of those and be more direct as you find success with implementing video. There also might be this kind of idea of looking at what are the metrics that you all have together that are going to make a difference. So especially if other teams on other teams on campus are using video successfully, we have to remember, we think of ourselves all siloed on our campus. All of our audience thinks of us separately as athletics, alumni relations, fundraising. Okay, let's get out of that way of thinking, because I think it really affects our trust and credibility with our audience, and it's not authentic to how they engage with us. So look together at what are the metrics that are moving the needle? What are the types of video that are working for your audience? Because chances are there's more overlap than not. So the next thing I want to talk about is how we can really implement video in terms of leadership annual giving. So we talked about renewals to some degree with this anniversary program. I think there is a way to beef that up even more, especially if you have an annual giving officer or a professional staff member on your team who can do that sort of outreach instead, especially if you have a giving society, perks, other things like that that you want to make people aware of, or if you have really great affinity data and you are able to get information from affinity programs about what the impact of support is to them. It's kind of like in-depth, personalized stewardship can make such a difference with people. Those sorts of campaigns, and I still think of it as a campaign because even if it's personalized, you're making dozens of videos at a time, possibly, those can make a really big impact on getting those renewals, possibly having upgrades, leading into conversations. I think a lot of us know that have had the experience of loyal or fairly consistent annual giving donors who end up being our best planned giving donors. This is a really great way to get to find those kind of diamonds in the rough who aren't maybe going to raise their hand or upgrade a lot during their lifetime, but they have something much bigger in mind that we don't know about. It's also this idea of lead generation. So the people who are watching your videos, who are clicking your videos, they are raising their hand and saying, I like you, I care about this institution. So what happens if you then set them into separate campaigns or set them up for personal outreach? These are really great sub audiences that you can target for more interaction. They're people who are going to be the most likely to support you. And again, that could be fundraising dollars, that could be volunteerism, that could be a seat on a board, it could be hiring your students at their organization they work for. It could be all manner of things. So really make it easy to figure out who those people are from how they're interacting with your videos and giving them different opportunities to engage in the way that is right for the stage of life they're in. So the last thing I kind of want to touch on here is this idea of some major and planned giving campaigns. So I think we've talked a little bit about this idea of affinity-based calls, like dean's calls, athletic director calls, really depends on the signature programs at your institution, what's going to resonate with your audience. These are really key. I see these as actually being really powerful for parents. Parents are so involved and so interested in their students' college experience this day, and I really wouldn't overlook them as a strategic audience to engage via video. But there's a lot of things you can do if you're really looking at using video for major and planned giving. So maybe it is using this kind of interview type of engagement. So somebody's checked that they've included your organization in their will. You can send a video inviting them to tell you their story and why they've chosen to make that decision. And I think a conversation like that is the sort of conversation that creates the opportunity to maybe transition a planned gift to a current major gift. For major giving, it is a way to show impact. It's a way to give that extra level of care to these prospects, to your VIPs. So think about the ways you want to use it. Maybe it's a special invitation for your scholarship luncheon. What if it's a student inviting your major donors to that? That could be a really powerful way to engage this audience. I think we might have a moment to invite some people to share some questions or thoughts or experiences with us. So I'm going to pause. Let's do it.
So thank you, Perry. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but Laura, you mentioned using it for major gifts in chat. I'd love to hear more about that. How is that working? Is it one-to-one? Do you have a video specific role? Are all development officers using video? Can you share how you're using video for major gifts?
Yeah, so we and this is actually at a previous organization, just started a new job, but we thanked people who contributed to a special campaign. It was a capital campaign, actually, and basically had different folks, you know, in who were part of the leadership make videos that like specifically used people's names. So it was like they made a few different versions of the same script, but they would like use the people's names who they wanted to thank, and then just send the video to that person. Those were for really significant gifts.
Awesome. What was the reaction from the donors?
Oh, I think, you know, especially if we're talking about older donors, they really, it feels like some very special thing. Like, you know, I think they were imagining like a whole studio set up with, you know, catering and everything, like they, you know, all the effort that must have gone into this to make a special video. They don't realize like how easy it can be. So they were really moved and honored by it. So it had an amazing reaction.
Awesome.
That's a great cheat code. So, you know, get a spreadsheet of all your donors, make a pivot table. How many Johns do you have? How many Lauras do you have? And you can record one video for your 27 Johns who were donors and really make it seem like it is much more personalized than it is. I think that still has credibility to it and still makes a difference. If you are like me and you're one of the less common names, it makes an even bigger impact when you know somebody took the time to do that. Although I would say not all donors are savvy enough to know that you're doing this kind of copy and replace with the common names, but that really makes a difference. And I would say, having worked at a lot of organizations with large numbers of international students, families, alumni, really going the extra mile to show care about pronunciation of people's names, show care about people's titles, especially earned titles like doctor. That is a sign of respect that you can bring into a video that you may not be able to bring into your other types of communications.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like you said, Perry, especially for your annual or maybe mid-level donor, getting a deeply personalized video. Like during giving days, you know, we do this. I know a lot of other places do this as well, but we'll aim for, I mean, with a full student program, Zach, what are we doing? Like 400 personalized stewardship videos day of?
400 to 500.
So, I mean, 400 to 500 personalized videos, not a week later, not a day later, that night in a lot of cases, you know, maybe even an hour or two after making a gift. And Perry, I mean, the reaction we get, you know, Laura saying to what you saw, they've never had personalization on that level, right? To actually have a student talking to them, saying their name, their title, talking about the gift, talking about the fund they gave to. And it's really easy to put that on an assembly line if you have a team of students, but it doesn't feel like an assembly line. It feels very real. So
another way to handle it is, I know sometimes there's this issue of timing with like a student phone-a-thon or student engagement center, where you've gotten maybe 60 or 70% of your gifts through the end of December, and spring calling is just so slow. So what if instead, when your students come back in January, you don't have them solicit people, you have them record personalized thank you videos to all the people who gave during year end? You know, like there's ways that I think you can really tap into these natural ebbs and flows. You have you know, I think of the annual giving calendar of those times of the year that are quieter. So like January, after your fiscal year ends, where you may not have as much activity going on, but you really want to seed your audience for future solicitations. You don't just want to keep soliciting just to say something, just to put something out there. Thank people instead.
That's a really good point. And I want to make sure we have time to talk about precisely how to build these, because Zach is going to talk about the structure in just a second. But before I do, I mean, Perry, you kept talking about engage. Don't just lead with the, and in annual giving, there's so much to do. You got to get that next mail piece out. You got to make sure your phone center is full of students if you still have a phone program, or an engagement center. You've got to be planning for the giving day. It's go, go, go. And it's hard sometimes to take a step back and really think about strategic engagement. But it's so important to do that, to break out of that. Maybe it's not even so much breaking authentic video out of the annual fund, but breaking the annual fund out of this never-ending cycle of solicitation, and instead taking time to focus on storytelling, warming, inspiring your audience, reminding them of what they love about the institution, so that when you do make an ask, when you do have that solicitation, they feel so much better about that. Perry, Zach, again, before we talk about the structure, any other follow-ups on just how to convince
just one
leadership?
more thought on that. Like, it also goes back to this thing you and I have talked a lot about, which is breaking engagement centers out of annual giving. What if you had a donor engagement or a donor relations team in charge of digital ambassadors? The programmatic and staff needs on that team is really different, and the focus is going to be really different, but ultimately it's still going to lead to more success for all the fundraising teams, not just annual giving. So if your leadership is really thinking about, how can I make a huge transformation in communicating with people through video? Step one, don't make annual giving be the one to do it. Have other groups of your staff members be the one to lead that process. Elevate it to be across the division, not just yet another responsibility of annual giving to execute when they're executing their 37 million tasks and solicitations for the year.
100%. Yeah, they're busy as it is. Okay, perfect. So we're talking about the structure now. Zach is in support of that as well. Zach, what does this look like? How do you build authentic video into a program? What are the details?
Yeah, no, so much great information shared there, Perry, and totally agree with, taking a kind of enterprise-wide look at, not only just across advancement, but I think, and Perry did a great job covering this, like all of the departments and the teams that can benefit from adopting this approach with open arms. But whether it's breaking it out of annual giving to the rest of advancement, whether it's using this in different parts of the funnel, what we believe here is the best storytellers for that, the best authentic video producers are students. And so, that's one of the benefits we've had, is the ability to work with client partners. And, we have hired and managed hundreds of students and produced thousands of videos. So I want to try to leave you with, I totally agree with Perry, like finding an opportunity for a pilot or a small case to roll this out is great. So if you're thinking about that, I do want to focus in on that student piece. And so I want to talk a little bit about, on the recruitment side of everything, the students really drive the bus on the authentic video. So when you're thinking about recruitment, love the idea of, if you've got a phone-a-thon, or if you had one in the past and there's still students who participated in that on campus, those are great candidates for this type of work. They've had that similar type of training, but you can also kind of look across different parts of campus, right? So maybe there are certain majors that are aligned with this sort of skill set, whether that's marketing, communications, or anything in the video world, but also student organizations that, professional development organizations that students are a part of, might be a good chance to kind of reach out and see, from a recruitment standpoint, who you can start reaching out to. And when you start to get applications coming in, as you're considering hiring a few of these students, some things to keep in mind. One, maybe the most important criteria is just that love or passion for the institution, that school spirit that the students can have. That is something that, if it's genuine, it's going to come across the screen, it's going to come across the viewers. That is really key, because that's what captures people's attention. That's going to keep them engaged. Obviously, it'd be great in a perfect world to have some technical skills on the resume. But also whether it's a past phone-a-thon employee, tour guides, thinking about some of those cross skills from other positions that could work really well for this. That's number one. Number two, once you get the students in and hired, keeping them on board is crucial. So we always suggest making this position, if you're going to roll out with a couple students, one of the higher paid positions on campus. Make this an attractive job. It's remote, it's flexible, it's fun, but being one of the higher paid jobs on campus is going to give you a much deeper applicant pool. And in addition to investing in them from that standpoint, invest in training them and equipping them for success. So when we're talking about training, some of the things are, training and educating about the institution and, if they're in advancement, about the advancement division and the mission of the division. Those are things they can internalize. And when they're scripting and storyboarding out future content, that's something they can keep top of mind with them. And then obviously a little bit about the video basics, some basic framing, lighting, audio tips. And then when we're talking about equipping for success, there is the actual hardware piece of this. We mentioned this on the last webinar, but we can, certainly talk about it here. All you really need is a mic and a tripod, and you can get both of those for under $50. So you could go ahead, pick up a couple of those kits, and the students using their phone to film these videos really have all of the tools that they need. You don't need a lighting set. You don't need a green screen. You can start pretty small. Again, relatively inexpensive to get something like this off the ground. And then once the work starts, really keeping that team motivated is key. It's a fun job, but it's a job obviously that's going to require some open and honest feedback. And you would be amazed if you start this and you see the first video a student produces, and then you see the 10th video they produce. There is a huge growth that happens over time. And that is key, because that's exactly what we want, is over time, these same students to be in these videos, appearing on different channels, because they're becoming more recognizable to your audience. And so if they are sending an email out, if they are the sender of a text, if they are showing up in a social media feed, people stop when they recognize them. That provides lift to all those channels that we were talking about earlier. And then they're a great source of creative inspiration as well. Really try to lean into some ideas they might have, but also if you have a fundraising campaign or an engagement initiative, focus at Gold alumni. Who better to ask than your future Gold alumni themselves, your actual students? So lots of opportunity to take what they are bringing to the table and allow them to share their perspective and infuse that into the content. And I think that's really at the heart of what we're talking about. When we talk about authentic video, it's sincere, it's genuine, it's real video with real words coming from these students. That does make a big impact. And so I want to talk real quick. I want to save some time for questions here. But there's so many benefits to this. And I think it's once you start to produce some video, it's going to beget more video, because once you start to see results, you're going to want to find more ways to insert this into your plan. So if maybe you go after this webinar and you pick a couple ideas that were thrown out and you find use cases for them, once you start to get that video out there, you're going to start to see those good results. It's going to have a snowball effect. And especially if this is shared publicly, do not be surprised if you get people from other teams, other divisions across campus asking, how can I get one of these videos made for my department, for my team, to help out what we're doing? So that's really key. And as a bonus, this is a fantastic talent pipeline for whether it's advancement, whether it's admissions, you name it, across the university. Fantastic talent pipeline, because these students are being equipped with the ability to communicate effectively. They have the institutional knowledge, all of those things that are going to make that an easy transition into a full-time role at your institution. So huge bonus to train them up. And then once they become recognizable, even retain them, whether that's in a gift officer role or another role completely. So totally echo what Perry said. Try to start small, find a couple of use cases to roll this out. And I love the comment about seeing how this fits into your workflow. That is huge, because that's going to identify any operational hurdles you have. See how the content goes out, how it performs, both qualitative, the anecdotes that you're getting back, but also quantitative, how those marketing metrics are going to be looking. And then take a step back and analyze what you found out after this test, this small scale pilot, what you need to do to help scale this up from talent management, from a resourcing, from an operational perspective. And I'll just say here, if you are interested in growing and scaling this, it is always nice to have partners who have been there before, have experience. This is why we were founded as a company. At First Name, we've launched and grown teams of students on our donor engagement teams. We take care of the hiring, the onboarding, the training, the ongoing student management. But we also sit down with your team from a consultative standpoint and build strategy with you to figure out not only how can we produce the content, but how do we get out in front of the right audiences at the right time? So I think we want to end here in sum of saying, please take what we talked about, identify some ways in 2024 that you can take some authentic video and integrate it into your current strategy. I promise you're going to be happy with those results. So Justin, I'll kick it back over to you and see if we've got any questions or anything else here.
Yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in the Q&A, drop them in chat, or if you want to just ask the question live, if you want to raise your hand, then I can unmute you and you can ask a question. Before we get to that, I'm just going to throw our QR codes up on the screen. So if you want to contact us, if you want to contact Perry, hover over these with a phone, tablet, what have you, and it'll take you to the contact information for all of us. And we would love to continue to have this conversation after the fact. I do want to just reinforce, Zach, you mentioned the career potential and how this is such a beneficial job for students and the resumes. And Perry, you talked about it a bit in chat as well. And I just want to talk about the joy that students have derived from these positions. There's so many cases where, whether it's a traditional phone-a-thon or the new twist, the engagement center, it's a struggle for a lot of institutions to keep students inspired, and a lot of times to keep them working for more than a semester at a time. The majority of the students we've worked with, dozens and dozens and dozens over the years, they don't leave the program until they leave the school. Like they're on it for 2 or 3 years. That's important because you get the familiarity. We started calling these student video ambassador programs because that's what they become. They become a face of your program, they become a face of your institution that's recognized. And that only works the students enjoy the job and stick with it. And they have in a lot of cases with this. So yes, it's a great student opportunity, and it is a wonderful pipeline. We're working with a couple of different people on our team who we worked with as students at their institutions. And, they're obviously fantastic individuals who really learned a lot in their roles around authentic video. So I'll go ahead, open it up here for questions if anybody has any. Again, here are the contact information. Go ahead, hover over that if you want to continue the conversation. Perry, did you have any follow-up on anything that Zach mentioned or anything you wanted to, expand on from earlier in the conversation?
No, I just think you both are really on target with this idea of student recruitment and retention and what a difference that makes for your audience and the quality of interactions they're having, what a difference it makes for your talent pipeline. And also, I think a lot of us who work in higher ed get a lot of gratification out of being part of our students' growth. We're not educators, we're fundraisers, we're engagement professionals, however you look at yourself. And so being able to contribute to that, to students' growth, I can say for me personally is one of the most meaningful parts of doing this kind of work. And so that's something that's maybe a little bit more intangible, but I don't want to overlook that.
I mean, it's why we do what we do in large part. I mean, of course, there's research and there's land grants. There's a lot of other things, of course, that higher education brings. But for so many people, myself included, it really does come down to the students. And I think that's true for donors too. I mean, that's why we do this, right? That's why we get students in front of donors with authentic video, because that's why they support the institution in a lot of cases. All right, we are coming up on the end here. Again, thank you all for joining the conversation today, for participating in the chat. We will get this recording out to you along with the first episode, which was recorded last week. And then we hope to continue the conversation. I know, we've talked about, Perry, Zach, and I have talked about doing, maybe conferences coming up, and maybe we'll see you in person at some of those events. So we believe so strongly just in authentic storytelling and authentic student video. And we're seeing just, Zach started with the stats. It has a profound impact on engagement and fundraising. The key is operationalizing it and doing so in a way that involves the student voice, doesn't overly produces a ton of content for engagement, really warms people and leads them through the funnel. So thank you all for taking time out of your Thursday to talk with us today. We'll get these recordings out. Please share them far and wide. And we'll talk to you in person. Maybe a one-to-one video over Zoom sometime soon. Perry, Zach, anything else?
That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everybody for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great rest of your week.